Well, golly, look at that. No Heidelberg. No Heidelberg, Bill? Yeah, there's got to be a celebratory Heidelberg because it's Tuesday, 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 the day that time forgot, but the weather didn't. Poetry break, poetry break, poetry break, poetry break. Fire! Well, they both went over here. They both went over there. I'm gonna put these out of harm's way over there where they won't bother anybody anymore. Welcome, cultured friends, to another deep dive into the soul, the heart and soul of language theme. The pithy center, where the juices flow as if from an artesian. What am I? Okay, here we are. It's been a couple of weeks, so I forgot how to do this. I was gone last week. I was out of town. I was actually in Spokane, where it's nice and toasty. Let's check the current temperature in Spokane right now. Spokane, it's got 96 degrees currently. They got up to 100 today. Yeah, it was only, let's see, I think the day that we went hiking, it was about 85. So that was the cool day. And the rest of the time, we were pretty much, staying close to the creek. I actually spent about 5 hours sitting in a creek with just sitting on like lawn chairs in about this much water with our feet in the water. It was like 20 degrees cooler with your feet in the water. It was absolutely fantastic. Anyway, it was great to see some friends and stuff like that. I'm sorry I missed the poetry break. Mary Pecca's in town. Mary Pecca knows some of the people I saw. Some of them know you too. Your name may have come up. Cultured friends were yogurt. Yes, that's correct. That's right. You're good for the gut. I used to have a six-pack in here once. I know I've seen it. It's in there somewhere, just waiting. This is beach weather, I'm usually down on Edmonds Beach. I'm all greased up, and stuff like that. I part my chest hair in the middle, and, things like that. And it's really a lovely, lovely thing. Scare the children. It's kind of too bad. Okay, let's get down to it. The mailbag. The mailbag, ladies and gentlemen, is screaming to be heard. Many voices have come in the mailbag. And we're going to start with Holly Tuttle tonight. Is Holly in the house? Where is Holly? I haven't seen Holly yet. Oh, goodness. I hate to start without her. Holly! Kim! Anybody out there from the Lame Cat Ranch? No cat ranchers? Gonna have some cat ranchers. Well, maybe I shouldn't start with Holly. But we wanted to start with Holly. It was perfect. Well, I'm going to read this one. That's what I'll do. I'll read the poem by somebody else that she sent in. I'm not going to read the poem that she wrote till I see Holly here, unless she's not coming tonight. Has anybody heard from Holly? Hello? Anybody? She sent in a classic poem from Mr. William Carlos Williams. This is just to say. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me. They were delicious, so sweet, and so cold. Can you imagine a nice dish of nice refrigerate cold plums right now? I'm going to read that again. This is just to say, by William Carlos Williams. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet, and so cold. Okay, we're underway. Let's move on now. Theo from the Couth Buzzard. Theo's not here yet either. What's the deal? Maybe, well, Theo could be busy. And the Lame Cat Ranchers could be doing some kind of an outdoor barbecue situation, having all kinds of... Oh, wait. Cats say, hi, Holly working late. We'll watch later. I'm here. Kim's here. Okay, well, Kim. Katrina Knight's here, too. Hey, Katrina. Welcome. So I want to go ahead and read the poem that Holly sent in. She said, yikes, I think I wrote a poem. And she was right. She did. It goes like this. Ghosts. In our old house, the rumor in the upstairs corner bedroom swears that late at night she hears someone tearing paper. The faint ball of light that slowly moves from west to east across the backyard can only be the soul of her dead cat. How is it that I, stepping into perfect, blackest devil's armpit darkness, behind the many-armed furnace, feel only peace and my life moving slowly like a deep, flat river? Yeah, yikes. Yikes, Holly. You wrote a poem. Yeah. I'm going to read that again. Ghosts. In our old house, the roomer in the upstairs corner bedroom swears that late at night she hears someone tearing paper. The faint ball of light that slowly moves from west to east across the backyard can only be the soul of her dead cat. How is it that I, stepping into perfect blackest devil's armpit darkness behind the many-armed furnace, feel only peace and my life moving slowly like a deep, flat river? Yeah, Holly's got it going on. Holly's got it going on. So, I think we should all encourage Holly, via Kim, who's here, to continue experimenting with writing poems, because Holly's already a songwriter. So, and Theo's in the house, and who else we got? We got Lori Trout. As if by magic, I lift the shot glass and Lori Trout appears. Lori, who is now in Nashville, Tennessee. That's right, she and Jason, and I don't know how many other family members have moved their central location to Nashville, Tennessee. So the Trout headquarters has been officially moved from the Jet City to Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. Lori, we honor you, we salute you with a little Tukwila tonight, a little memorial to the Lori Trout headquarters, which used to be here in the Jet City. Oh, that's smooth. Yeah. Okay, Theo. Theo from the Couth Buzzard sent in a poem by David Whyte. He said, local poet-philosopher David Whyte. That's about all I know about David Whyte, but I know he writes good poetry. This is called The True Love. The True Love. True love is all one word. Hey, Cindy Snyder, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. The True Love by David Whyte. There is a faith in loving fiercely the one who is rightfully yours, especially if you have waited years, and especially if part of you never believed you could ever deserve this loved and beckoning hand held out to you this way. I am thinking of faith now, and the testaments of loneliness, and what we feel we are worthy of in this world. Years ago, in the Hebrides, I remember an old man who walked every morning on the gray stones to the shore of baying seals, who would press his hat to his chest in the blustering salt wind and say his prayer to the turbulent Jesus hidden in the water. And I think of the story of the storm and everyone waking and seeing the distant yet familiar figure far across the water calling to them. And how we are all preparing for that abrupt waking and that calling and that moment we have to say yes, except it will not come so grandly, so biblically, but more subtly and intimately in the face of the one you know you have to love. So that when we finally step out of the boat toward them, we find everything holds us, and everything confirms our courage. And if you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't, because finally, after all this struggle and all these years, you simply don't want to anymore. You've simply had enough of drowning, and you want to live, and you want to love, and you will walk across any territory and any darkness, however fluid and however dangerous, to take the one hand you know belongs in yours. That is sweet. That is by David Whyte, and Whyte is spelled W-H-Y-T-E. I'm going to be looking for more David Whyte stuff. It's great to be getting introduced to local poets who are writing, like Holly Tuttle, who may not have even known she was a poet, you know? Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right, what else we got here? We got some Mark Kenney. Mark Kenney, Mr. Reliable, on the job, on the spot, doing his thing. Hi, Bill. I wrote this just after a long meditative walk in our forest, looking for a clear spot where I could sit and watch the planets and stars and constellations make their way across the heavens, surprised and delighted by the radiant stars pushing their light deep into and through the leafy tree branches all around me. That was poetry right there, Mark. It's called Ancient Fire. Standing pensive and alone in the deepening November darkness, surrounded on all sides by the impossibly tall, many-limbed giants in these familiar thick green woods, I look to the heavens for guidance as I sway expectantly from side to side, feeling my soles flex and roll, rocking back and forth, kneading the dampened soil beneath my feet, slowly yet intensely, slowly yet insistently, as if to secure my place on this fertile earth and my connection to things far larger than myself. Suddenly all the limbs above, in front, and behind me are alight with the twinkling, dancing, ancient fire of the cosmos, picking through the gloom, pulsing through the leafy darkness, piercing my fragile heart and peering into my troubled soul. My mouth opens as if to exclaim in amazement, but only air issues forth, a soft exhalation of acceptance and quiet joy, punctuated only by night birds chirping with care and delight, and the distant sound of the chilling autumn breezes, soon to breathe a different life into these trees, into this forest, into my life in these woods, into my unburdened heart. Then the tears come. Yes, I have enjoyed many moments very much like that, Mark. And share your wonder at it all. That's a good one. That's a keeper. That's a keeper. Let's see. Then we've got another one from Mark. This is called Impossible Things. Here's what Mark says about this one. This reflection upon waking from several intentional hours of semi-lucid dreaming this morning has been tumbling around all day, marinating while I ran errands, talked with old friends, visited a lonely kitty, the words getting alternately clever and then turning cliché, a hodgepodge of hope and longing, distressed by too much sitting, waiting, worrying, soothed by cool breezes and air-conditioned spaces, stifled by masks and the mundane, ordinary particulars of one day in the life of a man who does too many things and yet always never enough, thinking deeply, feeling deeply, listening and looking intently at his world, his work, and his worth, always wondering if more or many is better, or if who I am and where I am now is simply enough. Room to grow, certainly true. Need to grow, arguably true enough. Grow how? Grow big or grow small? Be louder or be quiet? Grab as much as I can before the gong sounds, or rejoice in the simplicity of what I have, here, now. Another poem, explaining the poem I'm about to read. Jeff Steve, how you doing? There's Kim. Finn Livingston, hey dude. Okay, Impossible Things, this is called. This was written, I guess, on July 17th, because that's when he wrote to me about it, and he said about, it's been tumbling around in my head all day. Impossible Things. My dreams call me out. Time becomes irrelevant. The moment is all there is. Standing on the cusp of discovery, riding that ridiculous, momentous, miracle wave of anticipation, wanting, watching, waiting with ragged breath, drenched in salty tears, all the eddies swirl and circle and tumble around the wispy tendrils of my mind, my memory, my wanton thoughts and feelings, tugging, tearing, teasing out tiny specks of truth, stealing tasty morsels of heart and mind, found somewhere down deep in dark places where no light shines. There are things you know, things you thought you knew, things you never imagined, lamentable, laughable, life-changing, improbable events, beyond belief, impossible things, impossible. You're dialing it in there, Mark. Yes, sir, you are. Yes, sir. Okay, one more from the mailbag, and this is amazing. My dear friend Amy Reed. I don't know if Amy's here. I think if she's here, she hangs out in the back. Shelley! Hi, Shelley! Wow, welcome. Shoot. Hey, Shelley's here. Wow. Southern Coast. Oh my gosh. You're here. Downright chilly here on the southern coast. The southern coast of what? Yeah. Oh, Diane saw Shelley. Okay. Amy Reed sent a poem by Aracelis Girmay. If anybody's heard of Aracelis Girmay, I have heard this poet's name, but I have never read anything by Aracelis Girmay. And she has a poem called You Are Who I Love. And I just think this is amazing. So thanks to Amy Reed. If you're hanging out in the back, don't worry about it. You know, it's great to have some people hanging out in the back who just want to kind of be, you know, semi-anonymous and just kind of hang. I hope you're here, Amy. You Are Who I Love by Aracelis Girmay. You selling roses out of a silver grocery cart. You in the park feeding the pigeons. You cheering for the bees. You with cats in your voice in the morning, feeding cats. You protecting the river. You are who I love, delivering babies, nursing the sick. You with henna on your feet and a gold star in your nose. You taking your medicine, reading the magazines. You looking into the faces of young people as they pass, smiling and saying, "All right," which they know it means, "I see you. Family, I love you. Keep on." You dancing in the kitchen, on the sidewalk, in the subway, waiting for the train because Stevie Wonder, Hector Lavoe, La Lupe. You stirring the pot of beans. You washing your father's feet. You are who I love. You reciting Darwish, then June, feeding your heart, teaching your parents how to do the doogie, counting to 10, reading your patient's charts. You are who I love. Changing policies, standing in line for water, stocking the food pantries, making a meal. You are who I love. Writing letters, calling the senators. You who, with the seconds of your body, with your time here, arrive on buses, on trains, in cars, by foot, to stand in the January street against the cool and brutal offices saying, "Your cruelty does not speak for me." You are who I love. You struggling to see, you struggling to love or find a question. You better than me, you kinder and so blistering with anger. You are who I love. Standing in the wind, salvaging the umbrellas, graduating from school, wearing holes in your shoes. You are who I love. Weeping or touching the faces of the weeping. You, Violeta Parra, grateful for the alphabet, for sound, singing toward us in the dream. You you your brother home. You noticing the butterflies, sharing your water, sharing your potatoes and greens. You who did and did not survive. You who cleaned the kitchens. You who built the railroad tracks and roads. You who replanted the trees, listening to the work of squirrels and birds. You are who I love. You whose blood was taken, whose hands and lives were taken, with or without your saying, "Yes, I mean to give." You are who I love. You who the borders crossed, you whose fire you dissent with rage, so in love with the earth, you writing poems alongside children, you, cactus, water, sparrow, crow, you, my elder, You are who I love, summoning the courage, making the cobbler, getting the blood drawn, sharing the difficult news. You always planting marigolds, learning to walk wherever you are, learning to read wherever you are. You baking the bread. You come to me in dreams. You kissing the faces of your dead wherever you are, speaking to your children in your mother's languages, tootsing the birds. You are who I love, behind the library desk, leaving who might kill you, crying with the love songs, polishing your shoes, lighting the candles, getting through the first day despite the whisperers sniping, fail, fail, fail. You are who I love, you who beat and did not beat the odds, you who knows that any good thing you have is the result of someone else's sacrifice, work. You who fight for reparations. You are who I love. You who stands in the courthouse with the signs that reads, no justice, no peace. You are who I love, singing Leonard Cohen to the snow. You with glitter on your face, wearing a kilt and a violet lipstick. You are who I love, sighing in your sleep. You playing drums in the procession, you feeding the chickens and humming as you hem the skirt, you sharpening the pencil, you writing the poem about loneliness of the astronaut, you wanting to listen, you trying to be so still. You are who I love, mothering the dogs, standing with horses, you in brightness and in darkness, throwing your head back as you laugh, kissing your hand, you carrying the Berber from the mill, the jug of oil pressed from the olives of the trees you belong to, you studying stars. You are who I love, braiding your child's hair. You are who I love, crossing the desert and trying to cross the desert. You are who I love, working the shifts to buy books, rice, tomatoes, bathing your children as you listen to the lecture, heating the kitchen with oven, up early, up late. You are who I love, learning English, learning Spanish, drawing flowers on your hand with a ballpoint pen, taking the bus home. You are who I love, speaking plainly about your pain, sucking your teeth at the airport terminal television every time the politicians say something that offends your sense of decency, of thought, which is often. You are who I love, throwing your hands up in agony or disbelief, shaking your head, arguing back, out loud or listening of yourself, holding close your incredulity, which, yes, too, I love, your working heart, how each of its gestures, tiny or big, stand beside my own agony, building a forest there. How fuck you becomes a love song. You are who I love, carrying the signs, packing the lunches with the rain on your face. You at the edges and shores, in the rooms of quiet, in the rooms of shouting, in the airport terminal, at the bus depot saying no. And each of us looking out from the gorgeous unlikelihood of our lives at all, finding ourselves here, witnessing to each other's tenderness, which this moment is fury, is rage, which in this moment is another way of saying, you are who I love. You are who I love. You and you and you are who. That's You Are Who I Love by Aracelis Girmay. If it was a little shorter, I'd read it again. It's worth looking up, though. Aracelis Girmay, Aracelis. As Aracelis Girmay is Girmay. A name I'd heard but had not read. Yes. Like so many things, that come and go, that ebb and flow, that bob and weave, that duck and cover. These are the things that really matter. And strange sparklers in the... It's the hand, ladies and gentlemen, the hand! The hand! Give me the... The hand is here. Smelling lovely, smelling fresh, even in the warmth. Thank you for your freshness, hand. Thank you. Thank you. Celebratory hand. She gave me a special note. You are who I love. Signed. She's got her own signature. She's got her own fan club. I mean, face it, you know? Yeah. So Theo's here. Bill Willem's here. Val Sand. Val! I didn't see you, Val. Hey, how you doing? Shelley, I can't believe Shelley's here. That's so cool. That is so cool. Aracelis Girmay, that's right. Holly Trout Cooper, a little late. Never too late, Holly. Always glad to have you here, my dear. Bridget Lacey's in the house. Cindy Snyder. Kim Nelson is here. Holly is working late. Holly, you're watching this on the replay. Hey, Holly, later. Yeah, I'm a time traveler. I'm saying hi to you right now, but it's already later. How's that supposed to work? Better write a poem about it. Yeah. Olive and Lincoln are here too? Oh, you bet, Shelley. You'll always get a shout out. Finn Livingston's here. Shelley Posis. Rochelle Hamill. Mary Pekka. Mark Kenney. Lori Trout. Katrina Knight. All the regulars and some newbies too. That is so sweet. I think that was for you guys as much as for me. Anyway, there's your mailbag, folks. Keep those cards and letters coming. Oh, you know what we don't have here? We don't have the thingy. We don't have the address. What am I sitting around here for? Hang on. Wait. Spell it right, Bill. Nope. There's not two P's. Isn't this exciting? Aren't you glad you came? Okay. All right. We're going to stick this here. It's a little large. It might be a little large, Bill. You might want to just kind of, shrink that down just a little bit. There we go. Now we'll tuck it down here where it's not going to bother anybody. Okay? poetrybreak22@gmail.com. If there's a poem that you remember your mom or dad or your grandpa or your grandma or your uncle Fred reading to you when you were a kid, or one that you happened upon in school or something like that, and you'd like to hear it again, send it on in. You don't have to send the text. Just give me a title and an author. I can take it from there. But I mean, if you've never been to the poetry website, it's the headquarters for Poetry Magazine. There's a huge amount of poetry there. There's so much poetry online, it's not even funny. Yeah. Time to go back to Tukwila here. It's an analgesic. It's for medicinal uses only, as you may know. But I just spent about 4 days visiting my friend, the big guy in Spokane. I've known the big guy for more than 40 years, and we went to college together. And there's 6 of us that call ourselves the Fellowship of the Rocks. We discovered a spot above the Little Spokane River back when we were in college, and we used to go there and camp all the time. And it was above a monument there on the road out to the Little Spokane, near the Blue Heron Rookery, just I think it's upriver from the Blue Heron Rookery, and it's called Indian Painted Rocks, right? There's an actual petroglyph there that's got a little, it's kind of, fenced off so that it's preserved and stuff like that. One day we decided to hike up from there, and we did, and we found this perfect little spot, and we've been going back periodically ever since. Hadn't been there for probably 10 years. And since we were last there, it has actually burned over. It was there was a fire there 4 or 5 years ago that actually, because Alan and I were talking, we were saying, I wonder how big the trees have gotten. There was a tree that used to grow up right next to our little fireplace there that was just kind of a hole in the rock. Anyway, long ago and far away, we discovered this place. But last Monday, a week ago yesterday, we hiked back to that same spot. There's now a trail, of course, that goes within like 50 feet of our campsite. It used to be you had to bushwhack up and kind of hit this traverse and figure, are we too high or too low, trying to find this one promontory. Youth. What was the guy saying? It's a wonderful life. Youth. It's wasted on the young. Yeah. So most of the Oldmanhood stuff, we are in Oldmanhood again. Oldmanhood is the project that I started in February where I type a page a day, at least one page a day. I've missed some days, you know. But I mean, I started in February, and I'm using this skinny little onion skin paper, and you know, that's fairly thick. It's a fairly goodly stack. My idea is at the end of the year, I'll pick out my favorite 100 or so and make a book. Yeah, and it'll be called Oldmanhood, Volume 1. That's right. And there'll be all kinds of fun stuff in it like this. Finally, the roadblocks, the body parts, the calendars and clocks agree. It's time to be hot with the Rocks Boys. Time to set aside caution, forget the worry, and plunge into the shade of Alan's yard, the fire pit praising the stars, the digital hookup still ravening through time and space, together by whatever means. See, the Rocks Boys have been meeting via Zoom since the pandemic hit, and we've continued it. We meet every other Sunday via Zoom to discuss our lives. That's right. The promise of fellowship defeated the driveway and took away my resistance. An incantatory dance, woven from 40 years of cloth, turned on a spit in campfire quiet, accentuated with the air pockets popping as the pine knots sizzle and the roast particular spills its diamonds of fat to flavor the blaze. These are the recalled days, woven together with sitting in a chair in a creek, reading poems to the same men as back then. Bold tales lifted from a blinded time. Bold men, grown older with their stories, still bringing new chapters to the fire. Old manhood, away from home. That's right. Being with these guys, because we've known each other so long and have shared our stories for so long, it's a group of people who are so familiar that it's like you step out of the car and you give them a hug, and then it's like you saw them yesterday. It's like we're neighbors. We're neighbors of the spirit, maybe, or something. Anyway, this particular page, I started on the 16th before we left, and didn't finish until the 23rd when we were back. So this is kind of a strange poem. A new poet laureate has entered the screen. We are in the business, even if it's not for profit, must raise a hand of praise to Ada Limon. Now I have 45 minutes to re-enter old manhood, after traveling on the mind's gentle highway far to the east to an outpost huddled where two creeks meet in a secret woodland called the Confluence. From there we hiked into a more sacred spot, the place where visions began for many of us, a place of youthful camping, not now just a day hike to the holy mount, magic vista, cosmic surround, raven camp, love escape, bear scats, rattlesnake supper, holy fire pit of many a roast particular. Burned over 2 years ago, a charcoal wreckage still holding its promise of sizzle and song. These men know you like morning, like the sunrise in 1978, all in the east through clouds of thunderstorm brilliance over the earth lip, the headache after wine, morning of creation looming up to dry the sodden head. In all of nature, including distant houses, horses, canoes, dark raven circle, contact is made with an earlier common sacrament of lichen sticking to stone through fire and blinding sunlight to replenish the liver-spotted hands and bent backs of the old-timers returning to their birthplace of legend and history. I will sigh with these men as we each re-enter the earth and the dust of our souls collect on the mosses here. Some wild stuff. Untamed. Yes. This is the priceless flashback to 4 days of fellowship. Maybe not as masculine as before, but also maybe more. In the creek, after hike to sacred starting point above the little Spokane, snake of the cottonwood forest, kayak daydream, medium rare on the grill, fried eggplant for Johnny, boys playing at being men. All of us, scarred by previous attempts, fractured in more than bone and muscle, dried to a raisinic crease. Fathers of adults older than when we met. Butts in chairs, feet in creek, air conditioner of the goddess, washing away the heat but leaving the sun. Every son's father, every father's son. That was written on the 22nd of July, which was my father's 91st birthday. My father, who passed when he was 59. Yeah. Anyway, one more. Here is the first low summit of my young life. Here I found my first ledge, and sat beside a right-angle pine till my face burned red, then climbed back to the high rock where friends held the fire low, the coals hot, little smoke, and the bird threaded onto a spit, potatoes and cinnamoned apples wrapped in foil for the fallen fire. Here was our supper. We were alone. All the signs and signals of our daily academics had fallen from the cliff, and we sang because we were grateful. Our needs were carried on our backs. We were set for the night. It came on dark, with the city glowing behind 5 Mile. With the stars we fell into space, changed forever, bound on a bed of basalt. There you go. That's your hit of Oldmanhood for the week. Sorry I was away last week, but I was in the middle of that. So I'm not sorry. Not even a little bit. Yeah, sorry. Some things are more important than poetry. I would say that friendship, long-standing friendship, is more important than poetry. Where are we at? 7:37. Come on out of the sky. Won't you take me down to Memphis on a midnight ride? I want to move. Playing in a traveling band. Our new poet laureate, Ada Limon. That's her. That's her new book, The Hurting Kind, it's called. Yeah, taking over for Joy Harjo as our U.S. poet laureate, Ada Limon. Yeah. I gotta find one or two of these to read for you. Okay. This is called The First Lesson. She took the hawk wing and spread it slightly from the shoulder down, from the bend of the wing to the lesser coverts, from the primary coverts to the tertials, to the carpal ledge. The bird was dead to begin with, found splayed over the white line of Arnold Drive. She was not scared of death. She took the bird in like a stray thing that needed warmth and water. She pulled it apart to see how it worked. My mother nailed the wing to her studio wall. She told me not to be scared. I watched and learned to watch closely the world. Yeah, Bubba. That's what I'm talking about. This is called Glimpse. In the bathroom, our last cat comes up to me and purrs. Even without touch, she purrs, and there are times I can hold her when no one else can hold her. She once belonged to my husband's ex-girlfriend, who is no longer of the earth. And what I've never told him is that some nights, when I touch her, I wonder if the cat is feeling my touch or just remembering her last owner's touch. She is an ancient cat and prickly. When we are alone, I sing, full-throated in the empty house, and she meows and mews like we've done this before. But we haven't done this before. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of chilly stuff. She's like a... What was I thinking? It's a mixture... That's hard to say. It's like a mixture of Mary Oliver and Diane Seuss. Yeah. What do I know? Anticipation. Before I dug the plot in our yard, before we had a yard, when grass only grew between stop signs and garbage cans, when I had one pot for a pepper and one pot for aroma on the fire escape, I was planting my secret seeds inside you, the crimson linen curtains billowing in liquid spring wind, the future deepening in the heat. In the heat. I'm going to read that one again. Anticipation. Before I dug the plot in our yard, before we had a yard, when grass only grew between stop signs and garbage cans, when I had one pot for a pepper and one pot for aroma on the fire escape, I was planting my secret seeds inside you, the crimson linen curtains billowing in liquid spring wind, the future deepening in the heat. See, it's laid out like this. Very short lines, you see? Yeah. So it lets you figure out how to read it. You tend to want to follow the punctuation, and that's usually right. But some of it, you need that little hesitation, like where it says, before we had a yard, when grass only grew, when is like at the end of this little line, 3-word line, grass only grew between stop signs and garbage cans, when I, kind of like, it's sweet, and I'm just cracking this book, so much more to discover of Ada Limon, but definitely worth taking a swing at, wouldn't you say? Yeah. This book right here. This book I found back, in the early 2000s at the Rummage Room in Twisp. It's called That Back Road In by John Brandi. Selected poems 1972 to 1983. 1983 is the year I graduated college. And I've read from this before. I know I have back in the Treehouse concert days, but I wanted to read this one. Just because this book, like all of Gary Snyder, but this book maybe more even. Gary Snyder's got a blurb on the back. This guy's from the Four Corners, where Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona? The Four Corners, It's a map designation. It's not real in any sense except somebody drew it on a map. Well, where is the map, Bill? Yeah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. He draws these amazing pictures in the book. The book is full of these amazing pictures, full of words and stuff like that. But he also writes some amazing kind of semi-meditative journal-like poems, like this one, which is called That Day, Riding Out Toward the Backbone of the World with Ed. Remember? That's the title. We saddled up and tied old Joe with cook gear and bedrolls, Big Steve practicing his diamond hitch, our little Mustangs eager to go, bucking and spirited as we veered off through ghost totems, the sand rising in effervescing windscreens, a carpet of coral dust, sometimes lifting us right off the trail, like when Nanau, all wool-wrapped with drums and binoculars, took off on his spotted pony and landed again a ways beyond the blue shale breaks. One evening after dinner, under a juniper stand, near a silvered fallen-in corral, Ed, who runs cross-country through the desert between Mexican Hat and his Monument Valley job, began singing some round dance songs traditional to his people, and few of his own, too. A lot of songs come to me on the trail. Listen, here's one I got while running. No words. I was just tired, my eyes fading. I needed company. Next morning, the song stayed with me. The exhaled rhythms as he puffed up hex rock layers of angled sediment overlooking the backbone of the Navajo world. Endless view of dunes and giant hogback vertebrae stretching out toward Cayente's black castle rock plugs and necks. Part dream, but at the same time solid, very solid. Then it was time to go. For a while, no conversation, just the rise and fall of galloping muscle, the snorting breath of our spirit craft awash on desert spume. Finally, Nanao remarked about island reefs and monsoon havoc off the South Japan coast. I don't mind wind. Wind feeds earth, feeds fish. A typhoon puts oxygen into the sea. I remember Suwanose. And I remember thar desert roll of infinite sand, wind and moon swirls circling Dante's view. White undertow of air scouring Atacama Islands, igneous and striated. There is mirages, the same way the Zankars and the Ladakh jut out from the high Tibetan plateau. Churning air, wheels of silence, great clockwise reels of campwood sparks swirling up into stars, falling back into parts of speech, which only later, much later, re-enter in books, on pages, in what we call books like these. That is one selection from That Back Road Inn by John Brandi. It's out of print. It's been out of print for a long time, but I have looked for used copies of this until I had one for each of the Rocks boys. So now they will each have a copy. And all their copies are in better shape than mine. I think the reason this was in the rummage room is because it's all stained inside, and the pages are all bent, and the spine is broken in a couple of different spots. I'm going to have to do a tape job on that book. Yeah. So I read Oldmanhood. I read The Mailbag. I think we're done, people. I think we can go and continue to cook ourselves in the slow cooker that we seem to be having here. Let me check the temperature one more time here, just to keep you posted. 86 degrees now where I'm at, 90 in Tacoma, 83 in Everett, 94 in Spokane. Seaside, Oregon, where my buddy Tim hangs out sometimes, 61. Okay, we're all on our way to Seaside, Oregon right now. Baird, Nebraska, where Judy Durnall hangs out, 73 there. La Push, 64. New York City, 77 degrees in New York City. There you go. So let me just look here for a minute. Lynette Hensley was here. Hey, Rochelle. Hey, Lynette. Cool. That's sweet. Good to see you guys. Great to hang out. Great to... wait a minute. I never took my second shot. Yeah. Well, hell, maybe I should read one more. What have I got here? You know, I've continued to explore Amy Clampitt. I got 2 more Amy Clampitt books. You think I'm not serious about this? You know? Remember how I said I've never really gotten into Amy Clampitt after reading The Kingfisher more than once? I have reached the level of maturity wherein the Amy Clampitt's poetry is starting to speak to me. Yeah, I like that. I like that fact. So, let's try one that I've never read before. No, I've read these, but not with the idea that I was going to share them. This is from her, I believe this is her last published collection called Westward. That came out, I believe, in 94. Bill, you're supposed to know this. 1990. Sorry, 90. There's a whole section, I think it's the second section, called Habitats. Is that what I want? I think it is. Was it Habitats I wanted to read from? Or was it the next section? A sort of... Ooh, there's some good stuff in here. Grasses. This is just called Grasses. Remember, the book is called Westward. Undulant across the slopes, a gloss of purple day by day arrives to dim the green, as grasses I never learned the names of, numberless, prophetic, transient, put on a flowering so multiform, one scarcely notices. The oats grow tall, their pendant helmetfuls of mica drift, examined stem by stem, disclose alloys so various, enamelings of a vermeil so craftless. I am but despair of, ever reigning in a metaphor for, even the plebeian dooryard plantains, every homely cone tip earns a halo, a seraphic hatband of guarantee that dying for the unstudied, multitudinously, truly slowly, has no meaning, is nothing, if not flowerings, swarming reassurances of one more resurrection. It's a dense language. I'm going to try that one more time, and then I'll wish you all a fond farewell for another week. 7:51, yeah, time to wrap up, Bill. Come on. What are you sitting there for? These people got other things to do. They've got lives to get back to, Bill. Okay. Grasses. Undulant across the slopes, a gloss of purple day by day arrives to dim the green, as grasses I never learned the names of, numberless, prophetic, transient, put on a flowering so multiform, one scarcely notices. The oats grow tall, their pendant helmetfuls of mica drift, examined stem by stem, disclose alloys so various, enamelings of a vermeil so craftless, I all but despair of ever reigning in a metaphor for. Even the plebeian dooryard's plantains, every homely cone tip earns a halo, a seraphic hatband of guarantee that dying for the unstudied, multitudinously, truly, slowly, has no meaning, is nothing, if not flowerings, swarming reassurances of one more resurrection. Try reading that off the page sometime. She don't make it easy, but she does make it rich, doesn't she? So, Amy Clampitt. There'll be more Amy Clampitt in our future. You know, every week I read somebody that I've never read before and promise more. So we're going to have to keep doing this for a while. If I'm ever going to get through all of this and then circle back. Remember Jim Harrison? That's where we started with all this. I can't wait to get back to Jim Harrison. Yeah, I sneak a little in when I need it. You know, this is Jim right here. That's Jim Harrison. Yeah, that's what we got here. We got William Stafford, we got Lucille Clifton, we got Gary Snyder and Allen Ginsberg standing together, Mary Oliver, Jim Harrison, Carl Sandburg, Adrian Rich, Langston Hughes, Richard Hugo. Then we got Ruth Stone, Walt Whitman, and up here Eileen Miles. Yeah, that's who we got. Why? Well, I found some pictures, cut them out, stuck them up there. That's why. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. It's been a joy again. This is the center point of my week, and it's so gentle and so easy, and there's so little ego involved. Oh my God, I can't even describe it. Next week we're going to try a little Peter Coyote. You know Peter Coyote. He's an actor, but he's a writer too. He's the guy who narrates all the Ken Burns. You've heard Peter Coyote's voice if you haven't seen his face. He's got one book of poems called Tongue of a Crow. You think I'm going to miss this book? Yeah, you know me better than that. Come on. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. We'll do this again next week. I hope everyone has a poetic week. I hope you will take care of each other. It's warm out there. So if you got a cool spot for people to hang out, invite some of them in, okay? Do what you got to do. But come back next week if you want to. And bring a friend. Yeah. Good night.